high-tech pharmaceuticals Andriol. It's a prohormone said to be equivalent to oral TRT, delivering clean and keepable gains without ever even having to come off. And of course, that seemed a little too good to be true. So me and 120 community members decided we were going to put this to the test. And that is exactly what we did for 8 weeks. I took it for 12 because I wanted to take a little extension so I could test a little further. And the blood work, the 3-round of blood tests that I got, well, the numbers don't lie. Ultimately, answering the question, can we take this as a TRT alternative? Can we take this long-term without any organ, fertility, or any other side effects or long-term health consequences? We need answers. My name is Travis Dillard, the Prohormone Professor. And today we're here to do a full breakdown on Andriol. The benefits, the side effects, the cycle length, when to use it, how to use it, and I will be showing you proof that Andriol, I'm not even going to call it a prohormone, because it might not even be a prohormone after all. And since I ran it, of course I'm going to give you my completely unbiased and unfiltered review as well.
You are now in the presence of a...
What is the prohormone? Andriol. Andriol, or the chemical structure name, Andriol 4-androstenedione, was created by high-tech pharmaceuticals in April of 2024, designed to be very similar to a 4-andro. In fact, they're calling it a 4-andro, similar to a 4-andro like a Sustanon 250, just with more even-keeled blood levels and without all the excess water retention. Here's how it works. The Andriol pill is going to go down the digestive tract and make its way into the liver, where its chemical name, andro-4-undecanate, converts into 4-androstenedione. And this is going to be for the first conversion. Then it's going to head over to the androgen receptor for the second conversion, where it goes from 4-androstenedione to the full-blown, tried and true testosterone. And within the bottle itself, you know what? Why don't you just take a look at it? Each pill has 158 milligrams of the precursor 4-andro-undecanate, or just 4-andro, which converts into testosterone. It's considered wet, but not as wet as some of the others. More on that in a minute. And it's got a half-life of 8 to 12 hours. So when Andriol first came out and it was marketed as a TRT alternative, I was very interested. I'm assuming you were too. That's why you're here. And so naturally, I would invite my entire community, and 120 people joined us for 8 weeks. I did it for 12. And of course, we had to put it against a test, blood work. And I've teased it for far too long now. So let's go ahead and check it out as we talk about the benefits of Andriol. You see, Andriol is marketed as a sustained releaser, meaning that it's sustainable, it's even keeled. And that's because of its undecanate ester. But the story, well, let's just say there's more to it. Because if we wanted truly the most sustained release, we would pick something like a Sustanon 250 because it's got 4 esters in here. 2 of them being, well, one of them's the fast-acting propionate, and the other's the same thing as Andriol's undecanate. But the mix and the blend of these esters is going to cause it to stay in your body just as long as Andriol, if not longer. It's got very little to do with how long it's actually in your body. Because while a Sustanon 250 is going to deliver results very quickly and probably in the long term more effectively than Andriol, Andriol's really powerful in the aspect that, well, there's 2 reasons. The first is that it is a single prohormone. So it's one single prohormone, a 4-andro. Second, with an undecanate ester attached to it. And this is why you're going to experience more even-keeled, more steady gains, which is the ultimate way to reduce early onset side effects like anxiety and lethargy. And for me personally, I did experience some of these side effects, which I will get to exactly what they were here in a second. But from the very first pill onward, it was a slow but steady and continuous feeling of just a lot of vascularity and a lot of nitrogen retention. Just overall fuller muscle bellies and filling out shirts a little more, which we all love. I ate my protein to take advantage of the increase in protein synthesis. My recovery went up by at least a day or 2, so I was able to add in a full extra workout day. And by week 2, my libido and the little guy downstairs, well, let's just say that it was elevated, if you catch my drift. My total testosterone in week 1 started at 821 nanograms per deciliter and made its way to 912 in week 4, and then 1298 by week 12. And my estrogen went from 24 pg per ml in week 1 to 45 pg per ml in week 4. And then it really didn't move much after that. And that's all without even having to use an AI. And I want to mention, I did actually feel at ease and very comfortable on Andriol. Just want to mention that. Very few people do. That's both mentally and physically, by the way. And all this sounds great, but it still hasn't really answered the question, can we stay on Andriol long term? Like, can this actually be a TRT alternative? And the answer lies in more blood markers. That's our FSH and LH, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Is my brain still speaking with my balls? Is that communication still there? Also called shutdown. But seriously, this has to be like one of the only prohormones I've ever touched that hasn't had some level of anxiety, at least on the front end of it, which is why I genuinely believe this even-keeled approach is a little better, this smoother release of this single 4-andro-undecanate ester, which lucky for us comes pre-built into this one. But in order to feel it, at least in reality, well, we've got to understand the dosing. And the dosing here is not the same as the others, my brothers, because 1 pill a day just ain't going to cut it. Not in this case. So let's talk about why that is and what we can do about it. First, if you want to see a new breakdown video like this every single week, covering products that people just don't talk about, well, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. My dude, if you're already subscribed, well, you know what to do. Let's go ahead and hit that like button and let's get this Andriol information out there. All right, back to it. So since we know the half-life of the 138 milligram Andriol pill, that being 10 hours, we know that after 10 hours, half of the pill is going to be out of our system. By 20, it's going to be completely gone. And while you can get away, technically, with taking 1 pill a day, ideally, to have more even-keeled blood levels, you're going to want to double up on that dosing. Which begs the question, how do we even do that if we're just taking 1 pill a day? Well, it's pretty easy. All you need is one of these handy-dandy, very cheap pill cutters. You just take the pill, pop it in, and you are done. So yeah, I personally did this. I started in week 1 with 1 pill, and I noticed that at night when I was watching TV, this is typically my time to wind down, I just felt a little overstimulated. So I decided to use my pill cutter to cut the pill in half, taking 1 in the morning and then 1 in the evening. I noticed a huge improvement, which is why by week 4, I decided I was going to toss in another pill. So that's 2 pills a day, equating to 316 milligrams of 4-andro. That's 1 in the morning and then 1 in the evening. So if you want to follow my protocol, there it is. And I bulked with it because it's going to make a lot more sense. I think it's best case scenario to bulk with it just because there is slight water retention. What about the side effects? Because of its swole undecanate ester, the pathway that it goes down for this specific ester is different than a lot of the other esters. So it's not actually going to convert testosterone into estrogen as much. So aromatization is going to be a lot lower when we compare it to other esters or other 4-andros like a Sustanon 250. For me, as I already mentioned, yes, my estrogen did go up, and no, I did not take an AI like a rimistane, that's an aromatase inhibitor or an estrogen blocker. And the reason I don't do that is quite simple. Number one is I like to live life a little bigger, and I like a little more water weight than the average person. But 2, and more importantly, I just feel better at the higher reference ranges of estrogen. So I can take something that's mildly estrogenic like an Andriol and not take an AI and still benefit without a lot of water retention, just some. What about you? Do you run a little higher estrogen, or maybe like a little lower? I'd just be curious to know your thoughts below. And some have experienced stomach issues, which can be overcome by just taking it with food. But if you're in a real dire situation, I've been there before, I use HCl betaine with pepsin. It's helped me out. Maybe it can help you out too. And because our sebum production is going to be thrown off, we can get some acne flare-ups from time to time. It should level out, though, as our hormones become more stabilized. But I get this question a lot. Should I take Accutane, or is there something similar to Accutane? And there is, but it is extremely harsh on the body, guys. Honestly, this just needs to be something that we just accept as kind of part of prohormones and part of the hormone process. And what about the cycle length? And this is where things get really weird. So on one hand, you've got companies that are saying, hey, this is a long-term thing. This is a TRT alternative. Strap in for the long run. And on the other, well, we know that 4-andro prohormones and prohormones just in general should be run 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off to mitigate any of the long-term damages. So what makes Andriol so different? Why is it so different? Well, that's a good question. One that actually had me quite confused. So confused that I was wondering if Andriol is even a prohormone at all. Here's what I mean. Quick recap. In 12 weeks, and I did end up running this for 12 weeks past that standard 8-week period because I wanted you, my brother, to understand the benefits, the side effects, whether you could take this long-term, and is this actually a long-term TRT alternative? Say that 15 times fast. Anyway, I do this all for you, my brother. So my lipid panel, my liver enzymes, and my creatinine were unaffected, untouched. We love to see it. My total testosterone went up 477 points, which is right there in line with a powerful 4-andro. And my estrogen went up by 20 points, which is also in line with a 4-andro, because testosterone will convert into estrogen. Some of it will as a 4-andro. That's again called aromatization. But this is where you lose me. Because if testosterone goes up and estrogen goes up and it's coming from an exogenous source, it is scientifically impossible for LH, or the signal from your pituitary gland to your balls, to not be affected. Your LH and FSH, if you're on a 4-andro or a prohormone in general, should go down. And in my case with Andriol, which is a prohormone, a 4-andro, not only was it not weakened, they doubled. And I actually didn't believe it, so I went and got another test. Same result. Okay, so now I guess I confirmed anecdotally that my brain to ball connection improved on Andriol, but something still smelled fishy. So I took it another step further and tested the morphology, the count, and the mobility of the sperm, just to make sure nothing looked off. Guys, these numbers and the way this thing acts, even though it is a 4-andro, it looks more like an enclomiphene, or a compound that increases your natural testosterone levels. So to answer the question that plagues the minds of us all, yes, you can, in theory, based on my personal experience, run this long term. And I could even argue, or I could at least see how someone could say TRT alternative. Low grade, albeit, but I wouldn't go any longer than 6 months. At least to give your body a break. You don't want it to get used to it. Travis, real quick, tell me right now, what are the best forms of stack with Andriol? Hurry up. Tell me. I want to know. Let's keep this one clean today. So for a milder stack, one that focuses on lean muscle and minimal sides, more on the drier side, go with 1 testosterone and Andriol. More of a middle of the ground stack, one to take advantage of the joint lubricating benefits, go with Decadurable and Andriol. Which I forgot to mention, if you are taking Andriol for longer than 8 weeks, even though we don't technically have to or need to, just throw in a PCT anyway. 4 weeks of Remoplex. That's it. And then a more hardcore stack, which is definitely going to be for more experienced users. It's going to be very potent. You got Andriol and Superdraw, which if you wanted to imagine what that cycle would look like, you already know what Andriol is going to look like. Combine it with Superdraw, which is right here. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I'm out of here. Until next week, stay safe and stay swole, my brothers.